stable au 110 sur 30, droite 50 sable Bex.
Well, good morning and Jambo to all of our dartfish friends out there. It's Saturday morning and it's a bit too early, David Evans. Dearie me.
It is a bit early, I've got to be honest, Colin. When the alarm went off at 20 past 4 this morning, it was early, but it's great.
But it's great because, listen, we have a fabulous day ahead of us. What a day we had yesterday for the opening day proper of the Safari Rally. It just brought us all sorts of drama and excitement and tension. It really was a fabulous day. And I think, from what I'm hearing, we can expect much of the same today, David. George Donaldson is our man that is out in Kenya. Now, George has sent us a little report from an early morning sunrise this morning. Shall we take a look at that, David?
Let's do that.
Look at that sunrise. I'm looking at the moon set over there. Good morning from what is going to be a very sunny and warm day here in Kenya. There has been no rain overnight. It's forecast to be the warmest day since we've been here so far. Look at that sunrise. Look at it. I'm not blocking the way. It's just absolutely amazing here. The predictions today, the forecast today is a little bit more humility for the teams. No rain at all. And I know already that the stages are being mobbed by spectators. Could this be an issue? I've no idea. But these are private estates and there was good controls on the way everything has been set up and controlled. So hopefully people will be respectful and it'll work well. The stages are going to be rocky and tough, very bumpy, a couple of little water splashes. Let's hope they've not been artificially raised. That can happen. I hope that doesn't. It's going to be a tough day. And this road in the background, lovely, beautiful road. It's about 35, 40 kilometres up to Nakuru. It feels more like 400 when you're doing it. Genuinely, I've been up and down here 3 times already this last week. And I am sick in my stomach at the thought of going up and down this road. It's terrifying. Speak to you later.
Well, it looks like an absolutely glorious start to the day, David. Not only has George been up and about this morning, he went out earlier on in the week to have a look at today's stages. And 3 stages in the loop. It's very similar to yesterday. First stage, little bit innocuous apparently, should be relatively straightforward. Second stage, quite nadgery, as George described. But the big one is the Sleeping Warrior stage. The long stage of the day, what we saw yesterday, is the long stage is where all the drama came. I think that could be the one to watch today.
Yeah, we're travelling north of Lake Naivasha. We're travelling into the kind of the heart of what was the safari route, the Great Rift Valley, the Delamere Estate. Excuse me. This is exactly where, you know, historically the event would have been. Element Tide to the first stage, it's a classic. But what's different today, Colin, is the surface. You know, we're still going to get the fish, but we're onto this kind of volcanic lava base, aren't we? So that, you know, the hard tie yesterday was perhaps, it was tricky at times to run in a fish and a really soft sand. You'll need the hard tie today because it will be way more abrasive. And just, you know, names like Element Tide today are absolutely right at the heart of this event. Just brilliant stages. We are going north today. It's towards Nakuru, isn't it?
It really is. Listen, we did see an awful lot of drama out there yesterday, and a lot of drivers got caught out, particularly the younger, less experienced drivers. You talked about the fish. I think the big lesson that Toyota will have learned, and don't forget, Toyota's still very much in the hunt with Taka-san in this event. I think, you know, if possible, they're going to raise the ride height on that car and get it absolutely to the max, particularly for the stage where, first stage where there could be some fish.
Well, Malcolm said yesterday, didn't he, that Malcolm Wilson said that their cars were running at, I think, 200 mil, the absolute maximum that they can run. And I was surprised, you know, that they weren't running those Toyotas as high. You'd have thought when we saw Calais stuck in that fish race, you might have thought that Toyota would have had an issue, perhaps spoken to the organisers to get the stage cancelled. But then Gus came along and drove straight through that section. Not straight through. I mean, it was very complicated, very difficult, and perhaps Calais was the first to kind of naturally sort of throttle back a little bit because you can't see where you're going.
But Gus had nothing like the same issues with the sand blocking his vision. Because he was that little bit higher, maybe took a slightly different line as well because he'd obviously heard what had happened. So,
but you know, for me, I noticed some disquiet last night about, you know, should this really be, should we have cars stopping just because they can? it doesn't matter, you know, the cars could get through, and it's part of the challenge,
Part
isn't
of
it?
the challenge, absolutely. So obviously the fresh was a learning yesterday.
Yeah.
I think the other learning is that, you know, patience. Patience is the answer to the key to winning this event. You know, we look at our top 6 drivers, and I still think anyone in the top 6 could win. You know, clearly the man in the box seat right now is Thierry Neuville, but maybe he's the man with the pressure on him. But you go
Also,
all the way
man with
down,
a problem last night.
the man with the problem. Let's talk about that then. You know, we saw the issues he had between stage, I think it was 6 and 7 on the road section, and you know, our man George Donaldson was on the ground, and he watched as Thierry Neuville and Martin worked really hard to get that car going. But he said the noises that were coming from that engine, the smoke that then blew
And
from
those
the
are the
back.
2 things, Cole. You know, when an engine is making a noise like that, you know, internally there has to be some significant issues with that engine. And, you know, the amount of smoke that was coming out of it, there's only so much we know that they can do when they get the car back to service. They can't do anything to the internals of the engine,
They can't open it up, can
No, they can't.
They can't open it up. So, you know, Thierry Neuville is in a great position leading the rally, but we will keep a very close eye on that. You know, the man that I think we should keep a really, really close eye on is Sébastien Ogier. He had a problem early on yesterday, but we knew at that point he dropped, what, 2 minutes, and normally in a rally you drop 2 minutes and you'll be struggling to get in the points. At that point we knew actually the intelligence, the patience, the way that he approaches things, Ogier, you don't write him off from even winning this event, and I still think he's not in a bad position.
No, you don't. But, you know, I drove back to our hotel last night, Colin, and thought, we spoke about Oyt Tanak, and we said, oh, what a strange day. It's not a strange day. We're the ones that have sat here saying, you've got to take it steady, you've got to just go calmer. He's done exactly that, and we're saying, oh, it's very strange. It's not, you know, for me, in some ways, Tanak's the one that's taken. He hasn't got into trouble, he hasn't had any issues with the car, he's driven down the middle of the road. And yesterday, you know, he said that, what he described Friday as the appetizer, and today's the main course.
Wow.
He will have spoken at great length with Marco Martin.
Yeah.
Marco Martin really did not like the Safari Rally, and he did it in 2002 for the first time, but he understood it, and he finished 4th, I think, on that event. He got it, and you know, just one very, very quick story, just a real quickie. So Marco,
He's got lots of them.
lots of stories.
Of them.
This one's a great one though. Imagine as a co-driver, you go to the start of the section, ready to get going. You pull out your pace notebook, and it's the wrong one.
I remember this story.
Michael Park, Beef Park, took the wrong book of pace notes.
From the hotel.
And Marco did it was probably 150 kilometres or something, with no pace notes. And do you know how they got around the issue?
I seem to remember a helicopter was
The
involved.
heli flew above and essentially told Marco, kind of fast right here. And another great story.
It is a great story. Listen, the thing with Oyt Tanak yesterday was he didn't have any issues with the car. He was a bit off at some of the stage ends, but you can tell with his demeanour. When he's got concerns about the car performance, he gets quite agitated, and you can see it. He gets quite tense at the stage ends.
Yeah.
He was
quite lucid yesterday.
He was quite relaxed.
Yeah,
so
was.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
It was all part of a plan for Tanak. Let's see what he can do today. In terms of the weather, George has talked about it. Hottest day.
We've got to talk about Takesan.
Let's talk about Takesan. I missed him off in our review last night. Takesan was great yesterday. He had issues as well, don't forget.
Yeah.
They had to do a roadside repair. They punctured the radiator. They did a great job, obviously, sealing that up again. But again, a driver who seemed to be in control. To be in control yesterday.
Yeah,
which I think is a great sign for today.
100%. And really quite surprising given his lack of experience of the car and everything, but 18 seconds off the lead.
But here's what I like about Takesan. Takesan is the sort of driver who, a bit like, as you say, you know, Oyt will have spoken at length to Marco Martin. There are some drivers, we know Adrian Fourmeau has spoken to Sébastien Loeb, to Delacour. Takesan is the same sort of driver. He'll have spoken to as many people as he can, and he'll have listened, because he's a very, very, he's like a sponge, Takesan, and he wants to learn, and he'll take it all on board, and he won't do anything silly. Okay, we saw some great pace in that final stage. It was fantastic, but he will only have gone quickly because he felt comfortable going quickly. So he's got a real chance today. But as I say, I think anyone in the top 6, don't write off Fourmeau, don't write off Greensmith from potentially winning this event. If yesterday was an appetizer, today we're in for a feast. We're in for a feast, David.
Absolutely.
But is it a feast? Is it a feast when cars are braking? I think it is. Because what it tells us is the brilliance of the guys who are completing it.
Yes. And the people who've built the cars, you know, everybody that gets one of these cars to the finish has done their job properly.
Right. They absolutely have. Folks, an enormous day. Anything else you want to say, David, before I wrap up?
Elman Titer, Giraffes. Look out for giraffes. Apparently, 600 Rothschild giraffes. That's a tenth of that breed.
He's done his homework,
Yeah.
hasn't he?
And we should explain as well, sleeping warrior. Why is it called sleeping warrior?
Because it looks like a sleeping warrior.
On his back.
On his back. And we have one of those in
warrior.
Scotland, near to a loch in Stirling, by the way. Can't remember what the loch's called. That's a great half story, isn't it? Not even a half story.
And actually, rock gardens. We've spoken about rock gardens.
Now I know what they are.
That's the feature of today,
Right,
isn't it?
yeah.
And you know, this, talking to Robert Reed last night, Robert was saying, you know, what fantastic action. Absolutely loving it. You know, he's a man who's been to Africa, won in Africa. And we were chatting about rock gardens, and I said, you know, what is the approach? And he said, genuinely, you know, you come down to First Gate and you cannot believe that the car is going to make it up there. And he said, and then, he said, I remember looking out of the side window, and he said, you'd see the Maasai warriors running past you as you're driving up. He said, and then when you get to a really tricky section, they'd run in front of the car and they'd be pointing which way to go. I mean, just,
listen,
does this event
fantastic.
get any better?
It really doesn't, but I have to say, one of the absolute highlights so far of the event has been, for me, the Kenyan fans and the support.
Awesome.
And I have to say a massive thank you, because we've seen a huge number of new people joining our YouTube channel, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and an enormous number of them are from Kenya. So thank you very much, folks. I really do hope you're enjoying our coverage. I'm sure you are this weekend. One more point, David.
There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever
do.
I bless. Can we not get that, Gary?
I bless the rain.
Toto, down in Africa.
A little tune for you, folks. That's enough. That's more than enough. Stay with us all weekend on dirtfish.com for the action. Yesterday, as David rightly said, was the appetizer. Today is the feast of the Safari Rally Kenya.
Fucking back to bed now.